Hello, amateurs, and welcome to the Rugby World Cup series. And I've got Elko with me again today. Elko, how are you?
TT, I'm good. Looking forward to another big weekend.
100%. And the final round of group fixtures had just been finished, and we did a full review on that. So go and find that episode if you can to find out what we thought about the final group games, which were epic, by the way. But that leaves us at the quarterfinal stage. This coming weekend across Marseille and Paris. And it's crunch time now. Really, it's really crunch time. So I'll tell you what, let's go through these chronologically as well. It starts on the Saturday. It starts in Marseille with Wales versus Argentina. How do you see this one going, Alco?
Yes, business time. This is it, Dragon's Den. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be tight. As spoken about before, with both teams, we're talking about two teams that have got momentum. Argentina obviously had a poor start with their opening game, had a week off, and now been building really well. A little bit of a worry for Wales is their injury list. Will Williams be fit after ending up on crutches on the weekend? And obviously, Faletau is gone. So who do they pick at eight? But it's going to be super tight. Two teams have got loads of gas in their back three. That's going to be fascinating. Carreras up against Zamet. Are they on the same wing? I think they are. So
Yeah, they will be.
that's going to be a real, yeah, that's going to be a real battle, and two egos there that I'm dying to see go at it. But I think um, I so tight all these games, right? I think Argentina are going to win +5. Just think they've got a bit more experience and some more stardust in the back line. What do you think?
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so I mean, the other thing to point out really is that Argentina didn't scrum particularly well last week. Japan beat them on a fair few scrums. Fortunately, Wales aren't the biggest scrummagers either. Really, I'd see it being quite an even forward battle. I think overall. Um, I've wavered backwards and forwards, like you mentioned there. All of these games are really, really tight. They could go either way, and I just feel like the injury situation for Wales might well turn this one out and be the biggest factor. I keep changing my mind. I think Argentina are going to win as well, but I think it's going to be very close. I think 2 points, and I think it could be like a real last minute drama. But what I do expect to see is actually a handful of very good tries in this game, because both of these sides, particularly in recent weeks, have been really sort of ruthless and scored some sort of absolute worldies. So I expect to see a fair few good tries, and Argentina just coming out on top.
Do you think if Argentina were wearing their away kit that they'd win by more?
I think they'd stroll it if they're wearing that.
We love that kit.
No team could lose wearing that. Okay, we're both going for Argentina, but very close. Saturday
Very
night
close,
in
yeah. Okay.
Paris. Paris will be green and black, mostly green, I suspect, as Ireland play New Zealand. And again, I think this is closer than a lot of people would think it could be. I think most people would probably say Ireland are favourites, and I agree. I think they probably are. But again, this could go either way. New Zealand are definitely coming into some form, and if they can get some parity up front, then they could really cause Ireland some trouble. But I sense they might struggle. I think they might struggle in the tight phases. I think they might struggle in the scrum a little bit as well. I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, it's tight, isn't it? I think Ireland went after them in the test matches down in New Zealand last summer when they went after them at tie head and did very well. It's a weird one really because who are New Zealand and how good are they? Do you know what I mean? Like I've said it so many times on the podcast that when they click, they're beating any team. Um, it's whether they're allowed to click, it's whether they get enough time to click, and for sure they'll get an opportunity to throw shots. It's just the way world rugby is. Whether that big green sponge can absorb it, and what happens psychologically, if Ireland do get broken down, I think because of the success recently down there, I think that stands in good stead. Um, but New Zealand are an absolute class team, and we know their pedigree. But you argue that their aura is damaged a little bit. I don't think there's as much fear in the top nations anymore. But they can always fight and get that back. Ireland have got injury worries, so yet to hear. I think they're announcing it today, a day early. So whether Mac is fit, I don't know. Calf injury, he sat out training. Um, Lowe is okay apparently. Ryan looks doubtful. So interesting what they do to cover that. I think it's going to be extremely tight for a time. And I'm going to say that I don't think Ireland are going to win by 8+ points.
Okay, interesting. I am going to take the opposite approach when it comes to the psychological side of the series last summer. I think New Zealand are going to be hurting. I think they're going to take that really personally, and I don't think they get damaged psychologically too easily. I think they can come back. I think they bounce back really well, um, and I think Ireland's injury problems might just cause them issues. I'm going to go New Zealand by 2. Okay.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I don't know if you follow, and just for the guys listening, there's a really good guy called Brett Igo. I think I'll find the link and send it to you, but we can put it in the notes. I know him from uni. He's a stat man. Has worked at RFU and Scotland and stuff like that. Really good guy. Some of his sort of analysis has been fantastic. But he brought out a stat today or yesterday showing the playing times. Did you see that of all the
Yeah.
players? Yeah, and that could bear some importance. So there's most of certainly the back row for Ireland have played nearly every game. They're probably 40 to 60 minutes more than the New Zealand back row. So what's that going to do in terms of the conditioning side? But then the flip side is who have New Zealand played in the last 3 weeks? They haven't had some really tight battles, only the opening night. So do we catch them cold? I don't know, but I'll go with you, mate. New Zealand by 2.
Don't jinx it. Okay, let's move on to Sunday, and we are going to go with England versus Fiji, which is the 5 p.m. kickoff local time. And well, I don't know. This is after performances this last week. This game is very difficult to sort of suggest which way it's going to go. Just picking up on some of the things you said towards the end of the last podcast when we were reviewing those games about Fiji, just looking a little bit off, looking a little bit tired. Um, I sense they might be getting that as well. I sense they might be just getting some sort of tournament fatigue as much as sort of physical fatigue. And I think England have been so up and down, it's hard to really sort of pick how they're going to play. But I feel like they've had enough players who've played in big games enough times that they'll see this one through. And it will be comfortable. Well, I think 9 points, but it will take a long time before it's sort of comfortable in the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Hearts would love Fiji to do well. Obviously, I would like England to win. I was looking at the stats of Fiji Portugal, and Fiji's tackle success was 66%. And I think that's a sign of I think that's a sign of fatigue, right? So I don't, I agree with you. I don't think it's just physical stuff. I think it's emotional. It's been away from home for so long. Each other. People can get each other's nerves, etc., etc. And that just kind of there's a sort of mental health aspect to it as well. Um, I think a lot depends on the England side that they pick. As mentioned in the review in our last podcast, I think Borthwick has got to pick a, def- a defensive team that can break loose in the second half. And what I mean with that, personally, if it was me, I'd go Farrell, I'd go Manu, and I'd go Marchant, and I'd have a very strong sort of front line of boys to take on that, because I think if they pick forward, they'll go after him. They've got some big runners. He'll have Bottia running at him full tilt. So I think a lot of will depend. I think they've got to probably pick Arundel as well with his pace and to deal with the flyers that Fiji have. But I think I've said it from day one. I think England's game plan is knockout rugby, pressure rugby, and I think England have got a chance to go to a final playing that way. So I'm going to go England by 16.
Oh, big. Um, the other thing that came up when chatting about it with some other England fans this weekend was that I didn't meet anybody that really thinks or believes that we can win the whole thing. So if we are going to go out, which we have to do, if we're not going to win the whole thing, then there's no team that we'd rather lose to more than Fiji. It would be amazing for World Rugby for Fiji to be in a semi-final. Um, so
I love that.
I mean,
Do you
talk
reckon
about
do you reckon the players are thinking that as well?
I suspect not, but yeah, there was a
It's
lot of
all
England
right, lad.
fans who yeah, look at them go on, have a good time, lads. Yeah, so I feel like whatever happens on Sunday as an England fan, just speaking for myself, really, like obviously I want England to win, but if they don't, then I'll be delighted for Fiji to make a semi-final as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They would go on to play South Africa or France, wouldn't it? And a France Fiji game would be incredible. I don't think a South Africa Fiji game would be. I think that would be tough. I think for the Fijians because you know what Brazil would do. It would just be up the jumper time and 7-1 split.
Yeah,
But yeah, we look as we've said all along. We just want a really competitive game. The rugby is at its best when it's competitive. When we don't have mismatches, it's an amazing game. So yeah, uh, let's hope that they're recovered and they can go at it. And yeah, if England lose, then it might as well be to the Fijians for sure.
yeah, yeah. So just one other thing on England is with the game plan that they've got to be really accurate with every single thing they do, and they weren't accurate at all really in this last game against Samoa. So I sense they'll get some of that right, and that's why I'm sort of tipping them to win. I think they'll have a better day at the office in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, we mentioned that. I thought maybe that they were looking at peaking condition for conditioning reasons for this week rather than against Samoa, and probably had a tougher week than maybe they would have done and take the foot off the gas and taper it out this week. So I'd expect them to be in prime condition and yeah, being very physical.
Yeah. Okay. France, South Africa, the final quarter final, 9 p.m. Sunday night in Paris. And at the time of recording, we do not know what's going to be happening with Dupont. He's been cleared by the surgeon to resume rugby training. But that's a long way between that and being available to play. But is it even actually a massive factor in this game? I'm not so sure. I thought Luku played fantastically well at the weekend, and he's a brilliant player, and it's his club partner at halfback that he's playing with. So it certainly is a factor, but I'm not sure it's as big as probably everybody's making out. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, that's a really fair point, TT. I think if you're relying on a superstar to beat South Africa, you're probably in a little bit of trouble. I think you've got to win it on a team performance, and as Ireland did, it has to be all hands to the pump. Look, any team would miss him, of course, but he could also be a weakness for them. The South Africans might have been planning to, because they knew they were going to come second in the group, right? So I just, so maybe they've got some plans and had some plans around how they were going to deal with him, and all of a sudden he's not there. Um, and potentially, would it be a good thing for him to come on and then not last the game and get a hit and have to come off early, and then something happens to their sub nine? It's a massive risk. I think it's going to be a belter of a game. I think two massive packs going at it. I think scrum is going to be huge, absolutely huge, um, and that's why I think you're probably right that you know DuPont ain't scrummaging right. The guys up front are going to need to really you know um, to get parity at least with this big Springbok side and do it for 80 minutes. So it's gonna be a banger. I find it interesting how quiet Rassi's been. I know they've had a week off, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? He's quietly hasn't said anything. Probably doesn't want to rile the French, particularly with someone like Sean Edwards in the changing room who would pick some stuff up and do it. So it's interesting how quiet he's been. I am thinking, and it's purely on home advantage. I'm thinking France are going to win, and I am putting number 9 down. I think they're going to win by 9 points.
Wow. Okay. My biggest factor in this game as well, in terms of where I see the result going, is also the home advantage, which I think is massive. The fans have been absolutely incredible in supporting France, and there's just obviously huge feeling around the country, rugby mad country, and um, having it in your home stadium with home TV directors. I think these are all advantages which will make a difference. I really do, and I think South Africa will start with Pollard. I think they'll go hard at it, but I just think France will have enough to just hold them and then score some really good tries when the game breaks up a little bit. So I've got France, but I think it'll be closer than that. I think it's 5 points maybe.
I had 5 and I scribbled it out. Damn it. Yeah, it's got look. I think it's got the makings of another. In fairness, all the quarterfinals for different reasons have got the makings of some great games. And any changes with the weather over there? Still sunny, sunny, sunny.
It's really hot at the moment, yeah, and I'm sort of down south now as well, so it's like I think it might have been up to about 30 degrees down here, so it could be
It's
pretty hot
crazy, isn't it?
for yeah, for Wales, Argentina, and England, Fiji. It's a bit cooler further north, but
Mm, yeah, I think South Africa might have been a bit unlucky with that because I think if conditions had been different in certain games, I think with the size of their pack, they might have taken advantage. But it will be fun, TT. I think we got 4 cracking games, and who knows? I think basically what we're trying to say is that we kind of have a feeling, but any every game you could flick a coin really.
yeah, 100%. There's so many variables, and it's really going to depend on some of these injury situations that we've talked about. It's going to depend on energy, how teams turn up on the day, and then bounce of a ball. It can be down to luck as well. Certainly, a big chunk of it. So that's what we're seeing. What do you think at home? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Are there any sort of big points that you think we've missed? If so, let us know down in the comments down below, and give us a video a thumbs up while you're down there. And don't forget to hit subscribe as we carry on with the daily vlogs. And then I'm going to take you to the semi-finals and eventually the final of this epic Rugby World Cup. So it just leaves me to say, Alco, thanks very much again.
Cheers, TT. Have a great weekend.
And for you at home, get out and play.